During your urban survival experience, especially homelessness, you need to find something that you enjoy. You don't have to be good at it. You just need to find something that can occupy your mind and give you a sense of enjoyment and even a sense of accomplishment. Now, let's look at what I'm doing. Drawing. So there's a very simple and elegant design. A house. This is not my original design. I will note that I got it from YouTube and I am taking advice from drawing tutorials. That is the person who runs those tutorials. You can YouTube it yourself. You can YouTube it. It's Circle Line Art School. That's Circle Line Art School. So I took that off one of his tutorials. Now, sure, I can put something together, but I get a very nice feeling and sense of enjoyment when I respect someone else's work, and that's what his tutorials are for. They're for you to join along and do what he's doing. Because it's just when I'm not thinking about the actual designs myself, when I'm not thinking about the designs, I should say, I'm just focusing on the drawing element, and it's really nice how my mind goes off with what he's doing. That's why sometimes it's very enjoying. Not enjoying. It's very not entertaining either. It's a good experience. It's a pleasant experience to follow a teacher. And that's what his tutorials are. Now, do you have to copy me and do drawing? No. But it's there if you want to do something. And drawing is one of those things where even whilst you're homeless or even whilst you're in a blown out war scenario, all it takes is a blank paper, ruler, pencil, rubber, and you're sweet. All I've used in this is this, and that. I didn't use anything else. Again, all I've used is my rubber, that 15 centimeter ruler, not even a big one, this 2B pencil, and this blank book of any pencil, blank paper, rubber, and even if you don't have a ruler, straight edge will work. So for me, it's definitely drawing that helps me. Keep in mind, I am an architecture student. Yes, I'm homeless, but I'm also an architecture student. And this really this hones my ability to create perspective drawings and create axonometric drawings, which we won't get into. That's not what this course is about. This is not an architectural course. It's just a part of this survival psychology series because you need to keep your mind occupied. What I will say is this: it's not a survival essential. Having an eager mind, having a calm mind, being able to relax and wind down is a part of survival psychology. So that's how I relate what I'm doing to survival. For anybody to turn around and say, yeah, drawing is it's an essential to survival, you have to draw. Like I said in my other video, they'd quickly get a very strong right hand. Bang! Lights out. It's not an essential to survival. Good psychology is. So why psychology is not part of the 4 essentials or the 4 fundamentals of survival is flabbergasting. I'm not going to be a heretic or dissenter, or I should say contentious, if that's the right word. I'm not going to ruin the survival fabric and say, no, it's 5 elements, because ultimately it's not. I mean, you can have bad psychology and just survive, because you don't die from bad psychology. You die from its consequences, which is not having enough food, not having enough water, not having shelter. So what I'm saying is that, yes, I don't want to be a heretic and go against the survival methodology, because it is correct, but it's actually correct for a reason. So that's one of the reasons I'm not going to be the heretic that that I can be if I need to when I know I'm right. Because in this case, it's technically correct that it's not included in the four fundamentals, but it's like I've related everything else in this course to those four fundamentals. Good psychology is directly related to all four, and drawing is directly related to survival psychology. So that's the link, and that's the fine line yet again. Okay, the only reason I'm showing you this me drawing is because it's absolutely related to survival psychology, which is absolutely related to successful undertakings of procuring your four fundamental survival elements. Okay, for me, again, it's drawing, and if you want to copy me, you can do that too. Again, I've doodled here for 10 or 20 minutes and got this going. Look at it, fucking marvelous. I wouldn't mind building it. Now for you, it might not be drawing. It might be doing push-ups. It might be an exercise regime, although I would advise that you be cautious of all that stuff, because you may need to keep your energy intake high if you're not getting enough food. It just depends on your situation. So the only time you start going into this sort of stuff and ensuring you've got great survival psychology is when you've ensured when you've met your quota, so to speak, for the four fundamental items of survival, four fundamental factors of survival, I should say. So you don't start venturing into drawing and doodling and push-ups and all the other sort of stuff until you know your four essentials are absolutely met, and they're probably going to be like that for at least a week, if not two. If you aren't sure what tomorrow brings or the next day, and you've got everything taken care of for that day, you probably shouldn't be thinking about this sort of stuff. But if you know you're sweet for about a week or two, and in my case I am, I've got about 5 or 6 places kitted out with beds, with electricity and hot water. I've got another 200 I've scouted. So I'm sweet for about 2 weeks at the very least, if not 6 months to 2 years. So I can do this. But for you, you need to understand that this is exactly what you've got to do. But once you've met those four essential factors, those four fundamental survival factors, for me, once I've met them, it's drawing. So you can copy me, or you can do Tai Chi, you can do your push-ups, you can do exercises. You might want to take up a small electric hobby. It's very easy to take up electronics. Yeah, it's not an expensive hobby. You just got to get a multimeter, a few small gadgets, cheap gadgets, pliers, and you can find wires and little bits and pieces and resistors anywhere. All you've got to do is download an ebook, and Bob's your uncle. And that's just one of the things you can do. There's millions of things you can do. And like I advise like I advised in one of my other videos, you should have an internet connection on your smartphone. A smartphone is your best friend in a survival situation. Okay? And in most cases, during an urban survival situation, the network will still be up. Now, there are pros and cons about that. There might be a time you shouldn't use your phone because it can be traced from a hostile entity during a war and all sorts of stuff, but that's another story for another day. This is about when that's not the case. So you should have your smartphone, you should have an internet connection, and from that you can access ebooks, applications, you can do all sorts of stuff. So it's not just drawing, although that drawing has made me happy. It really gives me that sense of technical accomplishment, technical happiness. So yeah, it doesn't have to be drawing. It can be an application on a smartphone. It can be some ebook that gives you the information you need to start your electronics hobby. It could be fucking juggling. It's whatever you want to do. There's millions of things out there to do. There's endless options. Just choose one to start and go from there. So that's the whole point of this video, for you to understand that once you've procured your four fundamental items of survival, shelter first. I put shelter and fire together. Shelter and fire first, signaling second, although as explained a million times, not a million, but several times, you're not usually going to signal in an urban survival environment because there's a different dynamic to wilderness survival, different causes, different reasons as to why you're in that predicament. So you can generally skip that. Although if it isn't the case, that's second, third water, fourth food. So you've got all those four ensured. You've got them taken care of. That's when you can say, okay, I've got all those taken care of. I've got shelter / fire taken care of. I've got signaling taken care of. I've got I've got water taken care of, and I've got food taken care of. All in that order. Unless your situation differs slightly in dynamic and it dictates you should prioritize one over the other, which happens, but you'll be able to ascertain if whether that's the case or not. So we're just saying that it's your regular situation, and even if it isn't, even if it is that special situation where I haven't had water for 3 days, that's why it's number one right now. So whether it's a special case or the usual case, or I should say, whether it's the usual 1, 2, 3, 4 case or the special case where you've just moved water to first and everything else as is, leaving as is. So it doesn't matter what order it is. Once you've got those four insured, and as I said before, once you know that you're well for at least a week, that yes, you've got a place. Yes, you've got some warm. You've got a warm shelter. Yes, I've got food. Yes, I've got water. Yes, I've signaled. Whatever that is. In urban survival, that could be a matter of you trying to get a welfare benefit or getting help from people. There you go. That could be your signaling. So, which we'll get into later. But the point is, once those four are insured, and you know that you've got at least a week, at the very least a week, where you'll be fine, as you are now, with those four essentials insured, then you can do this sort of stuff. As a matter of fact, you should. It's what keeps your mind sane. It's what keeps you healthy. So I've been out here for an hour, just doodling. This wasn't the only thing I drew. I drew something else. Then I followed something else. I drew a land plan of some sort. A site plan. Then drew a picture of a house I once went to. Then I drew this. So I drew 3 things, and I've done that over the last hour, whilst charging my scooter, multitasking. And I found a nice quiet place in the neighbourhood. So I'm here with desk and all. Lovely place. It appears that no one's home and the people are at work. Oh no, you're funny, cunt. So this is how I enjoy it. This is how I enjoy my day. Part of it before I get going, and there's my snack. There's some Gatorade in the Gatorade mix in a water bottle. And the point is, my psychology is calm. So I'm well geared to take on the heavy demands that pertains to survival, urban survival. It's not as heavy a demand as wilderness survival. As I said at the start, if you've got the choice, choose urban survival, unless it's in the middle of bomb zone, the blast radius of a nuclear bomb. Other than that, if you've got the choice, always choose an urban environment. There's just so much more to utilize. Okay? There's so much more ways to stay safe in an urban environment than a wilderness environment, if you just know how to, hence the series. It's a no-brainer. So, understand that the outcome of doing this sort of stuff is enabling you to continue to procure those 4 essential survival elements, factors, the big 4. Okay, without good survival psychology, you'll probably start to not function well, and then one thing leads to another. Oh shit, you're not up to scouting places to stay, and you've no longer got a place to stay. It's pretty hard not to have water in an urban environment when the grid's up, water everywhere. But one thing starts to fall apart after another, and the next thing you know, everything is in disarray. So the whole idea of you doing this simple exercise is to give you a calm sense of mind, a calm sense of survivality. You're able to not match, but overcome all the demands that your survival situation is throwing at you. And without good survival psychology, you're going to have trouble dealing with those demands, even in an urban survival environment, which is, even if it's easier than wilderness survival. So always keep in mind, once you've ensured all your essential survival elements, that you must have a stable psyche, as they say. You must have a stable mind. And you do that by taking an hour out, just an hour a day, an hour or maybe two, and doing something you like. Okay, you don't have to become a rocket science. You may want to do a course. That's up to you. You certainly can fit that in, only if it's realistic. And only if you know that you can keep ensuring your survival over the long term, as I have over the last year. So I can do a course. But not everyone will be in that position. They might be in a very volatile environment where a course is not possible. You're probably not going to be able to do that in a war zone. So balance these things. It's just that hour or 2 hours a day that gives you that extra edge, that gives you that positive psychology. Okay, life is not only worth living, but it's exciting. And for me, I've never been more excited. This urban survival is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I've got property, I've got land, I've had nice cars, I've had it all. They absolutely pale into comparison to my journey and these simple things that I can get in touch with, like drawing. It just gives me that psychological edge. There's a bush turkey there, I think. Can you see it? Fuck. It's faded into the background. Or is it moving around? Here it is. There's the cunt. Making noises. Trying to disturb my drawing session. Very calm environment. And all you've got to do is just get that edge. And you get that edge by doing a very simple thing. Choose that simple thing. Love that simple thing. Have something to look forward to every day, even every second day. And you'll be sweet.